Hi, how are we doing? Welcome to another reading vlog. I did the same one last year and I really liked it, so I thought I'd do it again for this year. So basically what we're doing in this reading vlog is to read 2025 releases I missed out on. So what this means basically is I always request galleys from NetGalley, and I have a really bad reputation for not getting to them, and to push myself to read them, I guess, even after the fact. I've all of them in like a Goodreads shelf for 2025, the ones who were released in 2025. And I thought it would be fun to like rank them based, like not rank them, but like, you know how you can order them? I'm not making sense, but I ordered them in the order of most ratings, and then I picked out the 5 books that were on the top of that list that also have an average rating above a 3.5, because it is most popular, so it also has to be liked, you know? I have to have a chance of feeling like I really missed out on these books. Like if a bunch of people read it but they all hated it, like that's not something I missed out on, you know? Anyway, this explanation was terrible. I will leave last year's video up in the eye above so you can go watch that. It will become clearer as we're doing this. But so my top 5 for the guys from that guys that I didn't get around to that have the highest amount of ratings, so therefore I missed out on them. The first one is the Strawberry Patch Pancake House by Laurie Gilmore, which has a 122,955 ratings with a 3.9 average. Of course, this is at the time of filming, so by the time maybe you see this, like details might have changed. I'm presuming like the overall ranking will not, but this is at the #1 spot, and that's actually surprising to me because I feel like this series was really popular in 2024, but 2025, the 2 new releases I didn't really hear that much about, but I'm so excited to read it. I believe this is a single dad nanny romance as well. Then at the #2 spot we have The Love Haters by Katherine, which has 110,264 ratings with an average of a 3.81. This one, the amount of ratings doesn't like shock me, but the high rating does, because I feel like everyone I've seen read this hates it. So it makes me nervous, especially because I read a Katherine last year and for this video as well, and I really didn't like it. And so the fact that everyone hates this one now, even the ones who love all of other Katherine books, makes me a bit nervous to go into this one. Then at the #3 spot we have The 3 Lives of Cate by Kate Fagan, which has 86,321 ratings with a 3.74 average. This, I believe, is more literary fiction, and I've also heard some good things about this one, so I'm excited to read it. Then we have 43,957 ratings with a 3.88 average for The Maid Secret by Nita, Prose. This one I'm really excited to read. I discovered this series last year. I didn't really like the first book, but I really liked the second book, and I'm very intrigued to read the third one. I know I tried to read it, but I wasn't really in the mood for like a mystery book when I originally started it in 2025, so hopefully I will get around to it. Like, hopefully I will also really like it now. And then the last book for this video is A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which got 34,689 ratings with an average of a 4.49, which of course is really high, but this is the second book in a series, so most of the people who I presume went on to read this one already love the first book, so you know there's a higher likelihood for this to have a high rating. I wasn't too crazy about the first book, but I am still intrigued enough to read the second one, so hopefully it will pay off. Because I have heard from some people that this book is better than the first one, so fingers crossed. Anyway, that's what I'll be reading for this video, 5 books. I'm not necessarily going to read them in order, we'll just see what I'm in the mood for, and yeah, let's just begin. Excuse my look, but it's early. But I am 25% of the way to the Strawberry Patch Pancake House, so I thought I'd tell you about it. So in this book, we follow, oh god, I literally just stopped reading and I forgot his name. In this book, we follow Archer, who is a renowned chef in Paris, but he goes to Dream Harbor because he got a call that this woman he hooked up with a couple of times several years ago passed away, and he is the dad on her daughter's birth certificate. So he's coming to Dream Harbor to take care of his kid that he didn't know he had. And meanwhile, he got a job at the local diner as a chef, obviously because he's a chef. So he's struggling with getting to know his daughter, but also struggling in his new job. And also we also follow Iris, I think. I'm so bad with names. I'm so sorry. I literally just put the book down to update you already. I'm struggling with names. But she has always struggled to keep a job. But now she's at a point where she's just about to be kicked out of her apartment. So she's really in desperate need for money. So when she hears about Archer's situation and that he's looking for a nanny, she decides to go for it, even though she isn't really a big kids person. So but because it's good money and it's a live-in nanny situation, so it will solve all of our problems, she decides to go for it. Biggest problem though is that the two of them, obviously because it's romance, are attracted to each other and they can't do anything about it because they're boss nanny, you know. And if you don't know, this book will make you know, because Jesus Christ, guys, get a grip. Like, I get it if you're attracted to someone but you can be with, it's a thing that you have to fight against, sure, but like, damn, the amount of times just for like a quarter of the way in the book that they've said like, oh my god, I'm attracted to them, but no, I can't. It's so annoying. It's been so much. But for the rest, I'm also like not really vibing with this book. I'm not disliking it. I'm also reading it relatively quickly. I'm having fun with it, but I don't really like either of our main characters. That's my issue with it. I feel like Archer is just very pretentious. I don't like that. And then at the same time, he also is very, very resentful. And kind of like the combination of the two is kind of creating his own issues, I think. Where his attitude is definitely like if you were just a bit better about these things would go better. You know what I mean? People would be more helpful. And then Iris is just so mature and like unprofessional that is kind of grating. Like, it's quirky to the point of, how are you still alive? How are you functioning as a human? And I don't know, that's my favorite thing. So in that sense, I'm not really vibing with either one of them, but I do think the rest is quite interesting. So hopefully things will pick up, I guess. Except I read some reviews on Goodreads and I accidentally saw a spoiler for this book, and if that's the case, I'm gonna be mad. So wish me luck. I promised you a halfway through update, but actually I don't have that many more things to add, but I'm halfway through the Strawberry Patch Pancake House. I do still think the whole I want you but I can't bit is a bit annoying, because like I said, it's just so much of it. And I feel like we generally, when they have a scene together, both of our main characters, Archer and Iris, they quite literally can go 3 sentences without talking about how attracted they are to each other in a monologue. And it's really repetitive in that sense. It's not necessarily that I think, you know, it's bad to have a lot of physical attraction or that whole I want you but I can't kind of vibe. It's not that that's problem, like that I have issues with that, but it's just that there's so much of it that just feels very repetitive, and it's like, oh my god, get over yourself, because of just how it seems to be like every single thought they have, which is kind of annoying. I do have to say that I also kind of, I think I also am not the biggest fan of is Olive, who is the kid, because I feel like she reads more as like an accessory rather than like an actual character, and it's, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I do really love a single parent romance, but I always want, no matter, I don't think that the kid necessarily has to have a huge part in the book. Like, for example, I read Daddy Issues by Kate Goldbeck last year and I really loved that, but like the kid doesn't have a lot of page time in the book, but that is like a very well established character. While I feel like Olive in this book, even though she has quite a lot of page time relatively, like comparatively, she doesn't really feel like a character. She just feels like something to get in the way of the couple, if that makes sense, or like honestly to get in the way but also to get them together. It's just she doesn't really feel like a character or like a person in these characters' lives, which is kind of bothering me as well. I feel like that could have been a bit better with it. Something that I am liking though is that one of the struggles that Archer is having with working in the local diner is that the people of this town are obsessed with the pancakes from this diner, but the previous chef is the only one who knew the recipe for it. And considering that person left and they tried to contact her but they can't because she's in a remote location, doesn't have service, and so considering she was the only one who knew it and was never with him down anywhere, he is like struggling to find that, like, to make the pancakes the same way like the people want, and I feel like the hijinks surrounding that are kind of fun. And I'm reading this really quickly. Like, I had such a busy day today, and I've just been able to read like bits and bobs in between things, and I am already halfway through this book. So I'm generally like flying through it. So there's that. Not like actively disliking it, but there was just a lot of elements to it that I feel like aren't my favorite. I do also have to add that I do think the characters grow on me a bit more. I don't think they were as annoying as they were in the beginning, as you are getting a bit more development as the book continues, but I'm still not really crazy about them, nor their romance. Even though their romance is fine, it's just like beating me over the head with it, which is kind of annoying, but oh well. Hi, so I finished a Strawberry Patch Pancake House, and I'll give it 2 stars. I do stand by every opinion that I mentioned so far already, that I just mostly felt kind of fine about this. I wasn't really like anything too bad. I do think the relationship felt a bit underdeveloped, and the characters felt a bit underdeveloped, but you know, I was having a fun enough time. I was fine with it, and it was going the route of a 3-star the same way book 1 and 2 were, but I really wish I hadn't read that spoiler, and I really wish it wasn't true. Because goddamn, the third conflict, let's call it, in this book, they don't like it. They don't like it. And I knew I wasn't going to, because like I said in a previous update, I did accidentally read a spoiler for it, and went down the exact way that the reviewer described, because why would it not? And it just sucked ass. Therefore, I docked it on a star, because like, what? No, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but just know it's a common dislike thing. Keep it at that. So yeah, that's kind of what brought it down a little bit for me, but for the rest, honestly, I don't really get the obsession with this series. I think they're really fun, like palette cleanser type reads, and I will keep picking them up because of that, but they're fine. So that's all I have to say about it. So I have a very sad update, because I started on the Maid secret, Nita Prose, and I got 12% of the way in, and I sadly enough decided to DNF this book. This is a total surprise to me, because I really like the series. I mean, the first book I wasn't the biggest fan of, but something about it that compelled me enough to continue on, and then book 2 I really enjoy. But this third book is so annoying. I don't know what it is, but just like 12% of the way through, I'm so annoyed by everything happening, everything that's going on. I rolled way too many times for this short, and it just, I don't know, something about it just reads very cringy to me, which hasn't been like my issue with the other 2 books. And reading some other reviews about this book, most of them are positive, but just reading some of like the negative ones, I can find myself in those of the people who finished it, and it doesn't really seem like it would get better for me, because I truly feel like the heart is kind of out of this one, you know, and therefore it is just reading like very annoying instead. So I don't know, it just really wasn't my cup of tea, and I'm very sad to say that, because like I said, the rest of the series was like a decent enough hit for me, and this was the book in this video that I was most excited to read. So the fact that this ended up being a DNF is putting me on a tailspin, you know. So I don't know what's next. Okay, so I have finished The 3 Lives of Cate by Cate Fagan. Yes, I didn't do any check-ins while reading. I apologize, but I feel like these types of books I always have a hard time, just in general, like formulating my thoughts on, but especially so while reading, so I apologize. But this is a contemporary fiction book following Cate, who is this very popular but reclusive author. Like, nobody knows who she really is. Everyone knows it's a pen name, and like nobody knows who the real person is. Finding this like one of the best kept secrets, especially considering just how prolific of an author she is, like how popular of an author she is. And this is basically her memoir. And then throughout the book we also get chapters that are also part of the memoir, by the way, that are told from different characters' POV as well. And yeah, that's basically the plot for this book. I don't want to say more, because I feel like the synopsis technically says more, but I feel like a lot of those elements don't come on until a little bit later, and I feel like it's better going in this way. And yeah, I give it 4 stars, which was really surprising to me, because I don't think this book is anything special or a whole lot happened during this book. The characters weren't even super likable, but it was just a really captivating and entertaining read. Like, I just had a really good time reading this. I flew through it. It was very gripping. And also I thought it was very interesting. I feel like, yes, the characters aren't very likable, but they feel very human. And I've read some reviews, because like I said, I find it hard to formulate my thoughts on books like these. So I always like reading reviews to kind of like help formulate things. And I saw a lot of people say that with kind of like some characters, they feel like should have gotten a bit more repercussions for the actions that they did. But I also feel like, even though yes, I get narratively that's very satisfying, but I feel like it's more true to how things happen in real life for those things to kind of just fly under the radar, if that makes sense. So yeah, I feel like it's a 4 star out of 5, because obviously I don't, like I said, I don't think it's anything like very special or like groundbreaking. I don't, or like profound or anything. I don't think this book is ever gonna change your life if you read it, but it is a really fun time and I had a really good time reading it. I feel like that's kind of all I have to say about it. My hair looks like a mess. I'm sorry. Especially like my bangs. Like, goddamn, what are they doing? Anyway. I think this video and I have beef because I haven't on a DNF. I apologize. I got started on the Love Haters last night and I read a little bit more of it this morning. Hence why my hair looks like a mess. It's still morning. Got 21% of the way through and I couldn't do it. I'm so sorry. And I knew this book is the one that was the biggest risk for me, because I didn't like the Rom-Comers by Katherine Center, which I read last year for the same video, by the way. So, and I feel like everyone I follow loves Katherine Center, but like dislikes this book in particular. So I already was a bit nervous disliking another book by Katherine Center last year. I wasn't widely disliked, but you know what? Maybe I was like the one person that went against the grain and liked this. No. By the way, huge content warning for eating disorders and body dysmorphia in this book, because goddamn, there's no writing of it anywhere, and it's not even written well, in my opinion. I feel like the whole way it is written is just so like blasé, and it gets left off and like things like that, and it just like, it gave me the ick so badly. But even besides that, I didn't like this book. But let me first give you like a synopsis for this book, I guess, although I'm not far in, so I don't know how accurate it is. But in this book we follow our main character, whose name I've already forgotten, so yay me. And she works for like this video production company, and they're about to like lay off like 50% of the people. And she obviously doesn't want to get laid off. She's a relatively recent hire. She's only worked here for like the past year or so. So she is like very much on the shopping block. And then her boss gives her this assignment to shoot an advertisement for the Coast Guard. And actually it was supposed to be like his assignment, but the guy, they're kind of like having the star of the whole advertisement is his brother, and like apparently they don't get along, because why else would you like not want to do it? So he is like, hey, I think you're really like good at your job, so because it's like not the boss, but he's like her boss, if that makes sense. So I want to give you this assignment so that if you do it well, the boss won't fire you, basically. And the problem is she doesn't know how to swim, isn't comfortable around water, stuff like that. So she just kind of, because she wants to save her job, says yes, but like is also like panicking about it. And yeah, that's kind of the whole setup to the book. From what I've seen so far, where she has just gone out, and it's a romance with the guy from the Coast Guard, obviously, who also he's the star of the ad, because a little while ago he went viral for rescuing Jennifer Aniston's dog. The video of that went viral, so that's a thing. And yeah, that's basically all set up. I'm gonna be able to give you from what I've read, but I really didn't like the main character in this book, and that's the main issue. Like, besides the way that her reading disorder was written and the body dysmorphia was written, which I thought was horrible. And also just because it just was, like I said, it was so blasé and like laughed off, and like it's not a big deal at all. It just it made me so uncomfortable while reading it. But even besides that, I just think she was like very over dramatic and very immature in a way it just was not fun to read from. And then when we get introduced like the love interest, so this Coast Guard guy, she keeps obsessing about how perfect he is and like how perfect his body is and stuff like that. And I just like, if you're this insecure about your own body and like that imbalance with like being so obsessed with how perfect the guy looks, I don't know, I don't think there was anything like sexy or romantic about that. You know, this is a romance, and I'm not saying those are like unrealistic feelings to have. I'm sure it happens a lot, but I I don't really love it. When a female main character is so down on herself, but then like so obsessed with this perfect guy. Like, no, that gives me such an ick. I don't know who thinks that's romantic. I'm sorry. And then just, I don't know, so much of this just make me roll my eyes so far. And I don't know. Based on like reviews that I have read for this book or have seen for this book previous to picking up it for this video, and then combine that with my experience of reading the rom-comers, which also has a difficult subject matter that isn't dealt with well at all. I don't have faith in this book sticking the landing. I very much have a feeling this is gonna be like I'm fixed by love kind of deal, and no. Why are we still doing that in the year of 2025? Because that's when this book came out. No, I'm sorry, I can't. So let's do the DNFs for this video. I'm telling you, this video doesn't like me at all. So I'm a quarter of the way through A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, and I have a more positive update than the last one. I am actually surprisingly liking this much more than I was expecting. This is the sequel to The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is a fantasy mystery book. And basically what you need to know for the series is that it follows Cole, who is like, in this world there are certain people who like get enhancements to like do certain jobs, and Cole had an enhancement where he kind of like remembers everything, and he ends up working kind of like as an assistant to what is it, basically like an investigator in his universe. There's a different name for it, I forgot, I apologize. And she is like very autistic coded. I feel like she's supposed to be autistic, but you know, it's a fantasy world, they don't have the same words for it as we do, but I feel like that's the intention of that character. And she always like wears a blindfold, so she doesn't really like going to crime scenes and such herself, because that is just like too much like a sensory overload for her. So she ends up sending Cole like to all the places to interview people, and then Cole comes back with the information to her, and like she investigates. If that makes sense. That's just like the dynamic. The first book, they solve a mystery. This book, it's a different mystery. Although I presume you do have to read these books in order, like the fantasy plot, but I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I'm quite all the way through this book, and The Tainted Cup I liked enough to obviously request and read the sequel, but I also gave it 2 stars. I feel like a lot of it just felt a bit underdeveloped for me, like characters, the plot felt dragged out a little bit, and the world building was a bit confusing, even though it was interesting. But this one I'm enjoying much more. So far I'm having a much better time with this. I just think the mystery is a bit more high paced. Things are happening a bit more quickly than in the first book, which is helping pulling me in. I do have to say we haven't really done a lot like fantasy stuff, if that makes sense, even though technically there's fantasy intertwined with everything going on, but you know, no wider world stuff has come into the picture. Maybe that will make my general excitement for this book drop a little bit, but just like mystery wise, we're like going at a good pace in my opinion. I feel like the previous one was just too dragged out. This one is moving at a good enough pace for me, and I'm actually having a really good time. And it kind of, the thing I like about a mystery is kind of like the sense of trying to solve things yourself alongside the characters, and I definitely have that with this book, where I'm picking up on things and I'm feeling like I'm putting together clues with the characters or like that. Another thing is that Anna, who is the investigator, I don't know if I mentioned her name before, she and Cole just have much more scenes together so far in this book than in the first book, which I love because my dynamic was my favorite part of The Tainted Cup, so I'd like to ever getting more of that. And yeah, I don't know, I'm flying through this so far and I'm having a good enough time, so let's hope it carries all the way through to the end of the book, because then I at least have another win for this video. Okay, so I'm halfway through now. I also moved to my living room, welcome, and I'm definitely struggling with this book a bit more now. I don't know what it is, but I just find it so hard to focus on this book, and it doesn't really capture me, which is also an issue I had with the first book, to be fair, but I also have my issues with it more so. But I do think the plot in this is a bit more captivating and quick and moving. Like I said in my first update, I still agree with all of that. I still struggle with just being engaged with this book, and I do think it is mainly because I'm not attached to these characters. I think that's it. I feel like if I were more attached to Cole and Anna and they had a bit more like character development, or even just more of a personality, because they don't really have much of it, I feel like it would just pull me in a tiny bit more. But I am very interested in what's happening. I feel like the things we've done so far are very interesting. The reveals that have been made are interesting. Although I do have to say, with how far along in the plot we are right now, I am very curious to see how we're gonna fill another half of a book. That doesn't make sense to me, but oh well. It is also getting a bit more repetitive, which is also another issue I have with the first book. We just kind of felt like we were going over the same info over and over again. That is starting to trickle in a little bit. So I hope that's not gonna make up most of the second half, but we'll see. Hi, so I finished A Drop of Corruption, and I swear to God, I am cursed because the second half of this book was so boring. I was very right to be worried by how far we kind of progressed things at the halfway mark for the second half, because Jesus Christ, things were so dragged out and so repetitive as well. I was bored in the house, and I'm in the house bored. I had a bad time with the second half, so I gave this 2 stars. I don't know if I said that. I do technically like it more than the first book because I do think there's parts to it that are better, but it's still just, I don't know what it is about this. I want to like these books so much, but it just does not work for my brain for some reason. I'm not interested in any part of it. And I do have to say, also towards the ending, this got a bit convoluted, and I was like, dude, we could have like taken a step, like 3 steps backwards, and it still would have been phenomenal. So yeah, I feel cursed because that brings us to the end of this video, which was supposed to be like 2025's most popular books, and did I miss out on them? We have 2 stars, 2 DNFs, and then a 4-star. I did not miss out on anything. I can truly say that. I feel like last year this went better. And now I don't know, I feel exhausted and not fun. I never like when a reading vlog just mostly has negative thoughts, so I apologize for it, but just know I suffered as well. Yeah, anyway, I hope you still like this video. I hope you'll stay tuned for the next one, and hopefully that will have better ratings in it. But see you then. Bye. Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated?